I'm Anne Riddell, and welcome to Arts in the City. We have got lots to tell you about today, including glass blowing and a restoration in Prospect Park that will transport you through time. But first, we want to honor Black History Month, starting with tap dancing sensation Ayodele Cassell.
I feel like my mission, since I put on my tap shoes and since I learned how incredibly elegant and sophisticated and rich an art form it is, all I want to do is shout it from the rooftops and have other people enjoy it and love it as much as I do. My name is Ayodele Cassell. Ayodele is a Yoruba name. It's Nigerian. It means joy has arrived, or joy comes into the home. And I'm in the Bronx right now, in New York City.
She is so many things. A dancer, choreographer, and storyteller extraordinaire. Hailed by the New York Times for radiating joy. Danced everywhere from the City Center and the Joyce Theater to the White House.
My work is endlessly rooted in my obsession with culture and identity and honoring and ancestral legacy.
Her identity as a Black and Puerto Rican woman is key to understanding her dancing. She's been on a journey to learn about the roots of her art. As a young dancer,
I found out that tap dancing was born in the United States of America and out of the experience of African people being brought here and enslaved.
Their culture, including their drums, were banned, but they replaced them with the beat in their body and feet. Fast forward through history, Ayodele learned about the great Black tap dancers of the 20th century. But where were the Black women?
I wanted to know who was out there that looked like me because I knew about Ginger Rogers. And I knew about Eleanor Powell, Ruby Keeler, and Shirley Temple. And I saw Lois Bright for the very first time. The Miller Brothers and Lois. Who is this mysterious Lois woman? Lois Bright. She was incredible. Class, grace, incredible execution, flashy, really exciting. I want to know everything about her. And if she exists, where are the other ones?
This opened the doors to Jenny Lagan.
She was the first Black woman to be signed to any studio, any major Hollywood studio. And she was let go shortly after the studio and decided that they wanted to push Eleanor Powell forward instead. But Jenny is also significant because she was the only grown woman to be paired with Bill Robinson, Bill Bojangles Robinson, who was the tap artist of that time. Other than Shirley Temple, she was the only other woman to be on screen with him.
When she learned that Jenny Lagan was still alive, she called her.
She said, "Oh my, I thought they'd forgotten me."
Ayodele was not going to forget them.
Racism, sexism, all of that contributes to their erasure. When they would tour and they had to ride in the back of the train by the engine, they persevered despite these really dehumanizing set of circumstances. And they paved the way for me.
Jenny Lagan, Lois Bright, Louise Madison.
I feel a calling to always speak their names and bring them into my experience, maybe as a way to sort of right the wrongs that I feel were done to them. I am so proud. I'm proud to stand on the shoulders of greatness. That lineage brings me incredible pride, and I feel so fulfilled at this moment in my life because I am a tap dancer.
I'm Abby Ashola for Arts in the City.
New York's mosaic of people and cultures certainly rivals any American city. And in an age when information is at our fingertips, one genius millennial has become a social media curator for Black American New York history. Eddie Bailey explains.
Sola Olasunde is a graduate student at Hunter College studying urban planning.
Urban planning is somewhat of a contemporary solution to the problems of history. I was into urban history and I saw how cities ended up declining and how cities ended up coming back, but it wasn't an equitable comeback.
The son of Nigerian immigrants, his love for history was fostered while spending time with his father, listening to him reminisce on New York City's past.
He used to talk to me about like his first experiences in New York City. When we used to ride around places in Manhattan, he would be like, wow, this place looks so different. I remember when I first came here, it used to be horrible, run down. There used to be like so much crime, just talking about how bad the city became. And that's how I ended up getting really, really, really into history.
Those conversations with his father were instrumental in him turning his interest for history from a hobby into a passion. He now uses Twitter as a way to tell pieces of New York history through sharing archival images and videos that connect people with the city's past. And then Sola posted an archival video from a 1976 episode of the Bill Moyers Journal titled Rosedale, The Way It Is.
And then I posted one clip, some black kids having a racist encounter with some white kids, and that went viral, very viral.
White people start saying, get out of here, niggas. You know, get out of my neighborhood. Don't come to this neighborhood. And then they start hitting on her.
Yeah, I was just glad that there's finally proof. Like, there's something that we can actually see, and it's undeniable. Just seeing how people were treated when they moved into white neighborhoods. And even my father was telling me when he first got here that there's parts of New York you just don't go to because you're black.
The Rosedale clip caught the attention of the New York Times, where they sought out and published an article interviewing the victims of the racist attack. They gave Sola an honorable mention, and then decided to reach out and do an article on him.
A journalist from the Times was just like, oh, I really like what you're doing. I want to write a story on you. I want to pitch it to my editor. They shot me like around my house, and the article was made. I didn't expect it to be like this whole like 2-page thing in the Sunday paper, but I'm very flattered, and I mean, it feels surreal.
Sola says that in general, when people come to visit his Twitter page, he wants them to learn something new about New York.
I don't want people necessarily to see my stuff and feel as if I'm indoctrinating people, because I'm not really doing that. Your stance on certain solutions is going to change if you know the history that I know. And if you don't, cool. As long as you know what I know, that's fine with me.
Sola Olasunde is currently collaborating on authoring a book about urban and political unrest of the 20th century in New York. He's also working on 2 documentaries that are in production. Until then, you can catch him on Twitter at DrinkSolaPop, sharing pieces of New York history. This is Eddie Bailey for Arts in the City.
Next up, a piece of our city's history that was hidden for decades is restored and on display in Brooklyn's Prospect Park. Take a walk with me. Stroll through the Endale Arch in Prospect Park and you'll be transported through time. This newly restored architectural treasure first opened in the late 1860s. Serena Rabinowitz is an assistant architect with the Prospect Park Alliance.
It actually was used for pedestrian traffic. So back then, there was carriage traffic that came in through Grand Army Plaza. And this Endale Arch provided the separation between pedestrian traffic from the carriage traffic above.
During the final phase of work, years of paint and grit were stripped away, revealing breathtaking details that surprised and thrilled the design team. They then followed the same pattern, bringing craftsmanship from more than 100 years ago back to life.
There was a small amount of wood paneling that remained, and as we began to clean it, we started to see what was under the layers and layers of thick green paint that had been applied over years and years. What we found was an alternating pattern of eastern white pine and black walnut wood paneling. We didn't really have old photographs showing the contrasting colors of the 2 species of wood, nor did we really know how brilliant the colors of the stone were. So as soon as things started to get cleaned up and those layers were peeled away, we saw these incredible vibrant patterns and colors in both the stonework and the wood. Since its opening, the arch has been used in so many creative ways. We even saw more than one couple get engaged in the arch. I honestly have never felt more joy at just observing people walking through the arch, enjoying it, being surprised by what they saw.
It must be really rewarding for you.
Absolutely, yes.
Proof that some things don't change with time, like the deep affection we New Yorkers have for the spaces that create an urban oasis. Glass blowing is mesmerizing to watch, and because of the pandemic, New Yorkers now have a front row seat. Our Susan John explains.
It's a mesmerizing sight, the art of making glass, a material that's as beautiful as it is practical, and as old as time, but essential to our latest technologies.
Glass is fascinating because it's so versatile. You can express yourself with it artistically, but it's also something that can be used in technology and lots of applications today that enable modern life.
Let's cap the pipe.
A miraculous medium that's been explored, honored, and brought to life at the Corning Museum of Glass since 1951. Located 4 hours north of the city in Corning, New York, the museum houses the world's most comprehensive collection of glass, along with a leading library on glass and a world-renowned glassworking school.
Of course, New York City boasts brilliant glassmakers and studios, but during the pandemic, New Yorkers have a unique opportunity to explore the amazing resources of the Corning Museum of Glass, all from the comfort of home.
He's setting up certain shapes, certain thicknesses.
We have a very robust YouTube channel. Even before the pandemic, we hit over 100,000 subscribers, and we're constantly putting out new content. But the pandemic, of course, put a different shift on that. And so we're not only putting out sort of one-way content, we're also doing more interactive programs.
Like the popular series, You Design It, We Make It, which has been at the museum for decades, but in light of the pandemic is now also virtual, allowing anyone at home to take part.
We have this awesome pineapple that we're making.
We encourage people who came to the museum to do a drawing, and then one of our glassmakers would select a drawing, take it into the shop, and make something. But now we've taken it virtual, and so we're actually asking people to submit their ideas online, and then every other week on Wednesday, we're picking one of those designs and we're making it live stream for everyone to see. The person who we select, they get their drawing back and then they get the finished object.
And on alternating Wednesdays, Corning taps its own talent.
During this pandemic time, when it's more difficult for us to bring in artists from out of town, we've been focusing on the talented people who work here. And so we're doing another series, and this is also live streamed, where we focus on our own artists, and we call it Bring the Heat.
You can also catch thousands of hours of demos from master glassblowers on Corning's YouTube channel. And if you're interested in learning and not just watching, Corning has virtual classes about the history and technique of glassmaking for everyone. For more on all the Corning Museum of Glass has to offer online, go to cmog.org. For Arts in the City, I'm Susan Junn.
With a double-wide easel and a penetrating stare, artist Kenley Dillard captures his subject in a New York minute. Magali Laguerre-Wilkinson got a pre-COVID drawing lesson at Kingsborough Community College.
Yes, Kenley Dillard is fast. Not this fast, but fast enough to burn right through a pencil while keeping a hearty supply of paper close at hand. He was hard at work when we met at Kingsborough Community College. Kenley's been drawing since he was 3 years old.
I always felt like I was good at it, so I made that my main focus. It was the only way I ever made friends anywhere. When people saw I can draw, They were like, oh wow, he must be a cool person. So it was pretty much how I felt like I fit into the world.
So you have artists in your family?
Yes.
You have artistry in your DNA?
Yeah. My aunts, they can draw. My grandfathers, both of them can draw. I've always been around. That's always been the main thing with me.
It seems that you had one person constantly on your team. Who's that?
My mother. My mother. She's always been with me through thick and thin. She understands me. She's always supported me.
His mom allowed him to flourish, to express and discover himself with his drawings.
She was never like, oh, you better do this, you better do that. She was always like, you have a choice. You always have a choice.
Kenley has a most remarkable ability. He can draw with either hand with equal dexterity on a double-wide easel.
How does that work? How does that work that you're ambidextrous? This is extraordinary.
Well, as simple and as direct as this will sound, I just pick up whatever I'm going to use and draw and let it come to me.
Now, do you draw differently with each hand, or what does the left hand give you that the right doesn't, and vice versa?
I would have to say the left gives me imagination without effort. The right hand gives me precision without effort.
Kenley has honed a skill of capturing the essence of a subject through a scrutinizing gaze, his well-practiced stare.
But the stare is part of your profession.
Yeah, I look at something once, I can remember it and draw it.
Wow. Wow, there is so much going on here. What is going on in your head? I've got some kind of Roman type theme here. Mm-hmm. And then jump ahead to 2019.
Yeah.
And that's me.
Yeah, that's you. It's a cartoon of you.
It's a cartoon of me, yes. Mm-hmm. Is this my guardian angel under here?
Yup. Protects you from the stare. Sort of. The stare scare.
The stare scare. Kenley Dillard, thank you very much.
You are very welcome. Thank you.
I'm Magali Laguerre-Wilkinson for Arts in the City.
Actor Welker White has been in many movies, including Martin Scorsese's The Irishman and Goodfellas. She's also a teacher at Brooklyn College. She chatted with Donna Hanover about her career and passion for educating actors.
Actress Welker White dialed up the tension of her scenes as Mrs. Jimmy Hoffa in Martin Scorsese's recent masterpiece, The Irishman.
As the camera moved to a lot of all the different positions and finally got to the close-up, Marty came running across the street and he stopped me and he said, I think there are more steps to this. And I said, well, could you get into the car and sort of show me what you mean? He really pulled me through really elongating that sequence to build that suspense for the audience. It was just so great and instructive to be with such a master filmmaker.
Welker played opposite Al Pacino as Hoffa and Robert De Niro. And it wasn't her first Scorsese film. That happened 30 years ago when she got cast in Goodfellas. She played Lois Bird, a courier who wouldn't travel without her lucky hat, for drug dealer and mob associate Henry Hill, played by Ray Liotta.
Call from an outside line, I mean it.
Jesus, you must think I'm dumb. What are you bugging me for? I know what to do.
Hey, you little hick, just make sure you do it.
When you were doing Goodfellas, did you have any idea that you were working on what would become such an iconic movie?
No clue at all. No. Later to have it become such an iconic, such an important film in the canon. So I feel pretty lucky about that.
Welker caught the acting bug at the age of 6.
My mother took me to a theater called Theater Under the Stars, and I kind of poked my mom and I said, how did they get to be up there? And the next day she called to the theater, and so I started taking classes at their school.
After high school, Welker started at New York University. When a casting agent saw her in a college production at the age of 19, her professional career was off and running. She was lucky enough to be cast in a Lanford Wilson play called Lemon Sky with Jeff Daniels and Cynthia Nixon. And her many roles since then have included being the divorce lawyer to Julia Roberts' character, splitting from Billy Crudup's character in Eat, Pray, Love.
We're prepared to offer half of everything, including the house and my client's retirement accounts.
Welker has long taught acting at Brooklyn College, where she herself finished her undergrad degree and got her master's.
If there's one nugget of advice that you would give a beginning actor, what would that be?
We're talking in the time of COVID, and very early on in our faculty in the MFA acting program, we lost one of my colleagues and friends, wonderful actor Mark Blum. I don't know if you knew. Did you know?
I did. I worked with Mark in 2 plays, in Picked and on Broadway, in The Best Man. Yes.
He would say, and I think it's really true, the challenges you have as a person are the challenges you'll have as an artist. So my advice would be just to always keep working to stay open, to keep working to learn, to keep working to be compassionate and empathic. Because if you can't do that for yourself and in your own life, it's going to be really tough to embody somebody else.
I'm Donna Hanover for Arts in the City.
The Angel Band Project is a music therapy program designed to help survivors of sexual violence. Our very own intern, Nahir Onai, takes us inside this powerful mission.
I am a singer-songwriter. I'm from New Jersey. I went to NYU. I'm a survivor of sexual assault, and I had never received any type of therapy before, so I was really intrigued that it was free, and it also involved music.
The Angel Band was originally started by Rachel Ebling. After a terrible tragedy, a loss of a very dear friend of hers, there was a home invasion, there was a sexual assault, and one of them perished and did not survive. So music therapy can provide all kinds of different healing modalities and different ways of unpacking trauma, anxiety, and depression, through sound, through self-expression, using all kinds of different musical instruments, singing songs. The music can really hold difficult emotions in a way that goes beyond verbal discourse. It goes beyond verbalizing a feeling.
The physical act of like playing music or like exercising when you're like exerting yourself is a technique to get trauma out of your body. When you're singing, when you're playing an instrument, it just helps release that tension. It's a great way for me to tell my story without having to, go up to a stranger and say, hey, listen to what happened to me.
These wings gave me new life. Have one worth fighting for.
We're all struggling with something, and it's totally okay to want to find help and to speak with someone. I would say to just try and be brave and take that step forward.
During the peak of the Black Lives Matter protests, our photographer Laura Fuchs documented art that spontaneously sprung up on boarded shop windows. Windows that became canvases for messages of exhaustion, justice, and a call to spread love. The images speak for themselves. Here's Laura's lens. Now, a quick preview of one of the stories we're working on for next month, a flower delivery for the entire city. We'll show you how one floral shop is brightening our days during the pandemic with surprise displays. That is our show for today. Thanks so much for watching. A quick reminder to check us out on social media. We would love to hear from you. I'm Anne Riddell. We will see you next time on Arts in the City.